20 of 8 right now. Paraquat is a powerful weed killer. Farmers spray it on millions of acres of newly plowed fields every year. That is not controversial, but now the government is starting, and you can see it here, spray this paraquat on fields of marijuana. And that is controversial because an estimated 25 million Americans smoke marijuana, and some health researchers say that smoking pot that's been poisoned by paraquat can cause permanent lung damage. And here you can see the helicopters that sprayed marijuana plots on national forest land in Georgia last Friday. The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, or NORML, as it's sometimes called, is opposed to this spraying. We'll be talking with the national director of that organization in just a couple of minutes. His name is George Farnham. He is with me here in New York. Carlton Turner is Special Assistant to the President, President Reagan, and he is Director of the administration's Drug Abuse Policy Office, and he is joining us now from Washington. Good morning, Dr. Turner.
Good morning, David.
First of all, how big is this paraquat spray program? How many more states do you expect are going to participate in it in the future?
David, I can't say how many states will participate now, but when we have cannabis being produced on forest lands, we're losing our forest lands to a criminal element. We have found areas where 200 pounds of insecticides have been used on an acre. They're contaminating our water supply. We've had 2 agents shot at already this year, 2 injured. We're going to go out and we're going to eliminate it, and we will use whatever means available with public health in mind.
How much money is being spent on this now?
David, we have $2.4 million allocated for our domestic eradication, and that includes 40 states in participation with the federal government.
What are you doing, what is the government doing to keep the tainted pot from reaching people who smoke marijuana?
David, I think we must first illustrate what we're talking about. Marijuana contaminated with paraquat has been on the streets in the United States since 1976. 99.8% of the paraquat is decomposed in the smoking process. There has never been a single case of lung toxicity that could be attributable to marijuana contaminated with paraquat. We know that marijuana affects the lungs. We know it affects the immunological system. We're taking those things into consideration. We're using it with the best possible environmental assessment. We're following the letter of the law, and we will eradicate wherever we find the material.
How concerned are you about the health, the effects on health of paraquat for people who live near where it is sprayed or people who vacation near there are near those areas?
David, we use a helicopter with a very particular beam which gives us a very narrow line of the spray. There is very little overspray at all. We're using very low levels, there's no drift, and the only way a person would be harmed would be standing in the middle of that field. They would be arrested if they were standing there, so the opportunity to have the material on you comes only with being down underneath the chopper when it comes down. We're going with techniques that have been developed for years and years. We sprayed a little less than 1.5 pounds on a little less than 2.3 acres. Normally every year we spray 4 million pounds over 10.7 million acres.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. Here with me in New York, Mr. Farnham, why are you against the government's destroying pot at the source?
NORML is not against the government trying to destroy marijuana. We are challenging the methodology involved. Paraquat's one of the most lethal herbicides known to the human race. We're very concerned that they're spraying it from helicopters as opposed to the backpack operation that was used in Florida last year. There are serious problems with drift and to the environment, and NORML is very concerned on what would happen to marijuana consumers who may consume paraquat that has been sprayed. Some of the paraquat does get through in the smoke. It can lodge itself in the lungs and cause pulmonary fibrosis, a permanent scarring of the lung tissue.
How much evidence do you have that that's true? And do you have specific evidence, cases, people?
There have only been 2 studies done on the smoking of paraquat-contaminated marijuana. Both studies show that a small amount of the paraquat gets through in the smoke, lodges itself in the lungs, and the Center for Disease Control estimates that 6,000 to 9,000 individuals suffered lung damage as a result of the Mexican paraquat program, and NORML doesn't want to see a repeat of that incident.
To what extent, in your judgment, should the government be responsible for people's health when they are doing something that's illegal to begin with?
There's no doubt that marijuana smoking is illegal, but in this country, if you engage in an illegal act, you potentially are arrested and prosecuted. You are not given permanent lung damage or potentially sentenced to death before you're even arrested. It's sort of analogous to the situation of the government if they manufactured cars whose brake system failed at 55 miles an hour because it's illegal to drive over 55 miles an hour and it's been proven dangerous. But we don't do that. You don't condemn people to death for driving over 55, and you shouldn't condemn them to death or permanent lung damage for smoking marijuana.
Thank you, Mr. Farnham. Dr. Turner, would you respond to that, please?
That's ridiculous. 60,000 young people require medical treatment each year because of marijuana. The CDC estimated on the worst possible case, if a person smoked only contaminated marijuana, 3 to 5 joints a day for a period of 5 to 6 months, there would be a theoretical possibility of 50 people that might suffer lung damage over and above that which is normally attributed to marijuana. Remind you, lung damage is the first problem you see with heavy marijuana smoke. A marijuana cigarette contains 70% more carcinogenic compounds than a tobacco cigarette chosen to contain the highest amount of carcinogenic compounds.
Dr. Turner, thank you very much. And again, Mr. Farnham, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we will be back, quarter of. Steve Birnbaum with the advantages of package tours after these words.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight.
It's been quite a long time now since the federal government began its campaign against marijuana. One thing the government has done is ask South American countries to spray marijuana fields with paraquat, which kills it. Now, for the first time, the federal government has decided to do some spraying at home. In Georgia, here's ABC's Josh Mankiewicz.
The spraying began early this afternoon. Federal agents in helicopters loaded with the toxic herbicide paraquat converged on 7 small marijuana fields in northern Georgia. Lawmen say the rugged terrain here provides good cover for marijuana farmers growing an illegal cash crop. The government's plan to spray the area was kept quiet, and today residents who live nearby were angry at the news.
Well, most of my neighbors and myself, we're very much afraid of what's going on. We're just not informed enough.
The purpose of the spraying is to convince foreign governments, principally that of Colombia, that paraquat spraying of marijuana is safe. Georgia is cooperating in the Reagan administration's war on drugs, and today the state's governor said the benefits of spraying outweigh the health risks.
That we're committed to continuing that battle here in Georgia in the war on drugs and trying to stop it and trying to do something about it.
An estimated 25 million Americans smoke marijuana regularly. Studies at the Centers for Disease Control here in Atlanta have found that smoking the drug after it has been sprayed with paraquat can lead to lung damage.
Paraquat's one of the most lethal herbicides known to the human race, and its use should not be used in anything that's going to be consumed, including marijuana, by humans.
Farnham's group will file suit next week to stop the spraying, but the government says it is considering expanding the program to 40 states later this year. As for the smokers, Governor Harris says, we have no responsibility to them. They do so at their own risk. Josh Mankiewicz, ABC News, Atlanta.
I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News, New York.
I'm Roger Mudd, NBC News, Washington. The governor of Georgia says we're sick and tired of drug problems and we're going to do something about it. So today, for the first time, the federal government began using paraquat, a deadly farm herbicide which can kill humans, to spray the marijuana fields of North Georgia. Our reporter is Bob Dotson.
Federal drug enforcement officers in helicopters began spraying the paraquat in remote areas of the Chattahoochee National Forest. They tried unsuccessfully to keep the North Georgia location a secret. Officials said the spraying was far from populated areas and would pose no health hazard. Georgia Congressman Elliot Levitas didn't buy that.
I don't want to see this material sprayed where it could fall upon innocent bystanders like Girl Scout troops or Boy Scout troops or campers who might be hiking or camping out in the national parklands or in the national forest.
Federal officials said guards would be posted to keep people out of the affected areas for 3 or 4 days after the spraying was completed. This is the first time the federal government has used paraquat on marijuana growing on federal land. It did so with the consent of Georgia Governor Joe Frank Harris.
We do have a war on drugs that is presently in place, going on. And when you're fighting a war, sometimes you have to get very tough.
Federal officials would like to continue the spraying in Tennessee. But Governor Lamar Alexander says Tennessee can handle its marijuana problem without paraquat. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Atlanta.